Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the PR S1V4 racing buggy. I unboxed this not long ago and I've completed the build. So here's the buggy, and the first thing to note right off the bat is that this is not the stock body. I've not had time to paint up the body shell yet, but I really wanted to get this onto the track. So this is actually an old body from Proline called the Phantom, that I believe was designed by Lee Martin many years ago. Really hard to come by one of these. I found one painted up for a OPR S1. I believe it was a V2 buggy many years ago, and guess what? It fits really good. I like the shell, so I took it for a run on the track. So before I go on to talk about how the run went, I'd like to talk a little bit about how the build went. The build actually went very well, no major issues. I did experience that on the front wishbones, where the wishbones connect to the front hinge pin brace, there was just a little bit of tightness. It wasn't something that bad that you couldn't run as is, but I decided to just use a little bit of 600 grit sandpaper, and I sanded the hinge pin block itself just a little bit so everything moved smoothly, and that fixed it up. Let's get the shell off. Few things I wanted to note. The battery retaining system on this car, I really like it. It fits both a standard shorty pack and also a LCG shorty pack if you should want to use one. If you take a look here, the way they've constructed the battery brace system, I think it's actually very good. It has various spacing options where you can move the mount forward and backwards to adjust your weight distribution. The carbon fiber holder here actually holds the battery in place very well. On some other buggies from other makes that I've tried before, this can be a plastic piece which sometimes can flex. And I've actually had cases in those buggies where in a head-on collision with an obstacle or another car, the plastic has flexed so much that the battery actually shifts out of place. You're not going to get that with these carbon fiber plates. They're going to hold your battery really securely. The top carbon fiber tabs are also something that I like very much. Again, in some other buggies, they are made of plastic which flex. These are going to hold your battery down securely, and it's not going to move forward, backwards, up or down when you're running your buggy. Of course, the option in this car, as I mentioned during my unboxing video, the option in this car to run the two more traditional battery braces is also a very nice choice to have if you want to tune the flex of your car for various different track running conditions. Alright, when I was building this buggy, I noticed that different plastics are used for different parts of the buggy. For parts that are very important for the structural integrity, they actually use a very nice plastic that are very stiff and strong. One tip I would suggest is when you are building the buggy to apply grease to some of the plastic parts where you need to thread in a screw before you actually fix it together. The grease will actually make the screws a lot easier to install. Something just a little neat to show you, I hope you can focus in on this, are the new little shim spacers that PR has included in the buggy. They look like two pieces of a 1mm shim, but it's actually one single piece where they have machined a groove right in the middle of the shim. So it's quite easy to identify this is a 2mm shim. I also like that the buggy now comes with new aluminum standoffs for the shocks. This also has come with the 2022 SB4 1R buggy. On previous versions of this car, this has been a plastic part with a metal nut underneath, which can flex a little bit, causing this screw over time to weaken and possibly even break. With this aluminum standoff, that's not going to happen anymore, I believe. Now, on to the first run impressions of this car. Truth be told, I gotta make a confession first. When I ran the car, I was so excited to get it on the track, I forgot to check some of my settings. I did check my slipper, I did set my ride height, but I didn't change any of the camber or the toe settings on this car. They were built exactly as recommended in the manual. And honestly, there's some toe out on the front, as well as I think the camber isn't exactly correct. But I took it for a run anyway. My running impressions are based on these settings from the manual. A little bit on what I set it up. There are no internal limiters in either the front or rear shocks. I'm running a TLR 40 weight in the front and TLR 35 weight all in the rear. Diff oil, the manual recommends either 3K, 5K or 7K. I just went right in the middle and I put in 5K all in the diff. I'm running a soft waterfall over the motor. And tires, I didn't have time to glue up new tires, so these are slightly worn rear yellow mezzos from Schumacher and front cut staggers as well. So some thoughts on the car's handling overall. In terms of acceleration and forward traction, the car is actually very good. I was able to put the power down quite well. 5K diff oil is actually lighter than I normally run, but I had no major issues with this trying to punch the car out of the corners. I do suspect, however, if I like to play a little bit with the anti-squat, maybe a little less anti-squat for this car to allow me to get on the throttle a little harder when I come off a sweeper on the track that I run. The version 3 of the Buggy has always been known to have very good steering, and the V4 is no different. The racers who tried my car at the track today agree that the car actually had no lack of steering. Cornering was very good without the car getting out of shape. I did feel that the car was scrubbing off quite a bit of speed each time it went into a corner, but that is probably due to the toe out that I failed to set properly on the car. So from hairpin to sweeper, the Buggy actually handled everything quite well. Now I ran on an outdoor bumpy Astro track, and there is a section where I notice I enter hard into a corner and then I need to make a hard turn. The rear end sometimes tended to skip a little bit when I cornered very hard. So one possibility is for me to play with removing the rear sway bar when running on a bumpy Astro surface like this one. But it's always nice that they included the sway bar as an option for me to run it or to take it off. Now in terms of jumping, the shock setup of the manual was actually very good for the track that I run. And the friends who ran the car today actually commented exactly the same thing. The car jumps very well without the chassis slapping or bouncing, and that meant that the car was able to land and immediately continue on attacking the track without having to wait for the car to settle. Mid-air correction in the jump was also really good. I was able to ensure that even if I made some mistakes on the jump, that I could correct the car's attitude in the air and land it properly. So I must say that the stock setup for the shocks is actually a very good starting point, and that's always nice because it reduces the guesswork that you have to do when you set the car up and try to hit the track. Overall, in terms of balance, the car felt very good front to back. I was actually wondering, with this new car, the motor actually sits further forward, and in combination with the stiffer rear springs that come in the kit, I was wondering if the car would be a little bit hard to handle and perhaps may lack rear grip, but I didn't experience anything like that at all. I think that could probably be down to the new battery mounting system that introduces a little bit more flex into the chassis to compensate for the grip that you may lose running these forward motor and the new springs. Overall impression, it was a very good first run. The box setup seems to be a great starting point, but make sure you check your height, your ride height, your camber, your toe and your slipper settings, all the necessary settings before you set your car out on the track. Recently, I met a hobbyist who insisted that a car has to be run with stock settings from the manual, even down to the camber links. This doesn't normally work. You really do have to reset the car again after you finish your build to make sure that the camber settings, the toe settings are actually where you want them to be. So today I didn't time my laps, but based on my pacing with the regular fast guys, this car out of the box was actually quite close to pacing with my regular buggy. And that's a good thing, because it typically means that the box setup is close and not way off. So you don't have to do too much guesswork in terms of trying to get the car set up to do what you want it to do. So I'm going to properly set my camber and my toe, do more track testing with this car, and I believe it can only get better and faster. So I'm going to try to get some track running video the next time and share it with you guys. Thank you for watching. Now, if you like this content, please like, share, subscribe, or comment. It certainly will help this channel to grow a little bit. Thank you. Bye-bye.